to our live talking about pressure canning. I thought I'd take you along in in my food store. Sadly the signal isn't that great, so I can't actually move, but there's tons of jars here and there's tons of things that we've been canning and doing over the whole season, and it's quite exciting times. Hello Sheridan. So there's lots of things that we've been making. I thought I'd walk you through pressure canning. So, you know, we've done a lot of water bath canning, but we haven't talked about pressure canning yet. The main thing I wanted to do is really change a little bit up as well. I'm pretty sure that you're bored of my kitchen right now and everyone's in watching a movie, so I want to move them. So I thought I'd walk you through my canner. I have one of the most popular canners here in the UK, and it is a Presto, which is a normal canner. It's terribly dusty because I actually haven't used it this year yet. So I do a lot of pressure canning like beans. Beans are very important to pressure can. Basically, you're going to be pressure canning anything that's going to be low acid, which sounds super complicated, doesn't it? But it really isn't. So beans are low acid, but things like, for example, tomatoes, tomatoes are high acid, so that's what you'd water bath. Anything that's going to be low acid, beans, green beans, squash, anything like that, pumpkin, is going to be pressure canned, and it's super easy. So a pressure canner kind of looks like this. It's a huge pot. It looks like it has a clock on it, but it shows you the pressure that you're under. Okay, so I'm like almost at 0 here in terms of elevation, so how far I am away from the sea, and in height. So I do 11 pounds of pressure, which you look on there. You also get a big pot that looks like this, my pressure canner, and it has a weight in it, and the weight goes on top, and you've got a rack at the bottom to stop the jars touching the bottom. It is a little bit different from water bath canning. Water bath canning, you completely fill the jars up until they're over the jar, 1 to 2 inches above. This, you only put an inch in at the bottom. Okay, so it's completely different. Obviously, you don't want to run it dry. I couldn't imagine what would happen. It probably wouldn't be good if you run it dry. And use that pressure to sterilise your jars and keep everything completely utterly stable. Hello from Somerset. Hello. If you want to drop where you're from, that'd be really cool. There's a lot of worries about pressure canning. I feel like pressure canning, particularly here in the UK, can be something that people really worry about, but it isn't something to worry about at all. It can be super safe if you just follow a couple of like really basic rules, and I know I'm not a rule follower, but these are really, really easy and simple. Oh cool, you've got one of these pressure canners too. That's epic. You've not been brave. You see, this is the thing, lots of people are not brave enough to pressure can, but if I can pressure can, anyone can pressure can, I promise you. Netherlands, awesome. Worcestershire, epic. And England. Okay, so pressure canning's super easy. Have you tried any water bath canning? I feel like that's the first step. If you want to talk about water bath canning, I've got loads of lives on it, and I've got loads of videos on water bath canning. I'm very passionate about it. The next step, sorry, I brushed my hair earlier, I'm just covered in hair. The next step really is pressure canning, and it is really simple. Now, what you do is you take your beans or whatever it is, and I do have a really easy video on canning these actual beans, and they're super easy to do. They're probably the easiest thing you can start off with. Hello from France. And you would, like I said, put an inch of water in the bottom of this canner, and I'm going to show you if you can see. Mine's so old it's got like almost rust lines. So where this is, you put your hand down, you can feel the nice etches. So you need 2 quarts of water, which means nothing to me. It's basically 2 litres of water at the bottom, and you put that on with the cans in until you vent it, which means there'll be loads and loads of steam coming out of the top here for 10 minutes. A hole into the steady stream. What I do is I try to blow the steam And if it goes away and comes back, it's not ready. If you blow the steam and it won't blow away, it means it is venting. You put a timer on for 10 minutes. Once that timer is on for 10 minutes, probably the scariest bit is you take your weight and you go ahead and put it onto your canner. Now, that does sound like really scary. The first time I did it, I like wrapped my hand in a tea towel and all sorts. But honestly, it's absolutely fine. It's like stirring a pot when it's hot. It isn't too bad. And you then wait for your pressure to come up. This is your pressure gauge here. You'll be waiting for it to go just above that 10 if you're on the same elevation as me. You could just Google your elevation. It will explain it all to you. You just add so many pounds of pressure to where you are. Google your elevation and Google how many pounds of pressure you need. Super easy, okay? And then just like pressure canning, it's just like water bath canning, as soon as the pressure gets up to where you need it to be, you start your timer, okay? It is really easy, but it does open up like a whole world of canning that you just can't do if you're going to only water bath can. So I'm talking like stocks, I'm talking soups, I'm talking beans, baked beans, etc. It really does expand. Do you need a water canner? No. But does it help? Yes. If you want to do the low acid foods. So a water 100% still needs to find a cheap pressure canner. Yeah, so pressure canners are going down in price a lot. When I first got into pressure canning, and I'm talking about 8 years ago, honestly, it was so expensive. I'm not even going to tell you how much I paid for that canner to be imported. And now you can buy them in the UK. They do have them on Amazon, fairly cheap. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I think it's just over £100, which is a lot less than I paid for that. I think mine was about £500, and now they're like 100 and something pounds. So they are a lot cheaper. Mine is the same price as an automatic pressure canner. Yeah, really expensive. Right, so another question that I get lots of, so these are dusty. I did these last year, like November last year, I went ahead and did them. They're completely sterile, beautiful. And the reason I know that they are is if I hold them, imagine if it didn't smash on the floor, I'd be gutted. It's the cleanup really. So if you have a little pull on the lid, they don't come off, and they don't have a dimple in the top that pings when you press it, just like you do when you do water bath canning. They're the same sort of principle. You use the same jars as well. Yes, I bought one from I've bought quite a lot of jars from Love Jars, and they are amazing. They were one of the first companies that did like at any sort of level water bathing and pressure canning. And I have spoken to Rosie, and she's actually really nice too, so that's always nice, isn't it? But what I was saying now. So yeah, pressure canning of beans are probably the easiest thing to do, or green beans. I have to say, like, I've pressure can. When you get a pressure canner, you pressure can everything. Like, I'm surprised we still have a dog. Joking. And I have to say that there is a texture issue for me personally with meat. I just can't get round it. I did a load of pressure can chicken breast, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it tastes like tuna. Like, it had the texture, you know, like tuna, you get it in like a brine and it's wet, but it's like dry at the same time. It's the weirdest thing. So I have to say that kind of turned me off a little bit. What I do like pressure canning is beans and baked beans. I do want to like move more into some pressure canning of different things. I'm kind of getting more interested in like pastas and stuff like that, stuff you're not meant to really pressure can, but I'm kind of going to be moving into that later on. But it does really open up the world of opportunity for you in terms of what you can actually go ahead and do. But if you are an absolute complete beginner, which I think a few of you are, I would strongly recommend going off on the water bath canning to start off with, particularly if you're quite scared of eating the food. I have been eating home canned food now for 8 years, and I'm obviously fine. So for me, I'm not as scared as it, but I do remember when I first started and I was so intimidated and scared of eating the food that I like I made. But what helped me is thinking that if you go to the supermarket and you can get things from the supermarket, then you can put them in the jar as well. Rosie is, yeah, she is. She is lovely. And Chicken does, yes. I also did, raw canned, raw packed, that's the one I'm looking for, some mincemeat, and that honestly is impressive how much it looks and smells like dog food. So yeah, that's not great either. Beef stew, do you know what, the stews and that are lovely. They work really, really well, particularly chicken stock. That's another thing I like to can, but I'm completely out of chicken stock at the moment. I'm waiting for it to get a little bit cooler, and then I'll do a massive batch of that. Oh, you've done minced meat, was lovely. Did you fry it before? I've heard if you fry minced meat before you pressure can it, is actually quite lovely. But I did it raw, which was just a big mistake. What was I going to say? It's gone out my head. Ah, yes. For my advice for pressure canning, where water bath canning, you can go a little bit over. So, for example, if I was water bathing these are barbecue sauce. So I believe off the top of my head they're about 10 minutes. If I went 15-20 minutes, there's no flavor difference. Like, I don't notice a flavor difference. However, if you overcook your jars that go into pressure canner, you can really taste that there's something wrong with them. They just taste wrong. They don't taste like bad, like it's gonna make you sick, but it's bad as in it tastes bad. Heat the stock tastes better than frozen than just pressured. I hear that stock tastes better frozen. Yet this is what I'm talking about. So it really is important you get your timings right. I personally prefer it on the shelf, because if it's frozen, I don't know if you guys are organised, but what I do is I get out stock lollies and then I have to chisel them away to make dinner, which is really dangerous. So I do prefer them on the shelf, but you do need to be like, if it says 45 minutes, you need it off at 45 minutes and cooling down. You cannot open it until the pressure's gone. So obviously you take it off, you let it cool down until it stops whistling and stuff. And about 10 to 15 minutes later, you take off the weight, then you wait again, and then you take off the lid, and then you wait, and then you take them out. So it is like a whole process. And yet you do need to make sure that you are following it letter by letter by letter, so that it doesn't taste bad, so it doesn't taste overly, I don't know, like I want to say dusty, but I'm sure there's an actual word for it, but it does taste dusty. Does the rules apply to cold water? Ah, yes. So you can start it from cold as you do everything else. Normally the water in the bottom of the canner is cold. You can boil it up. It takes a lot less time to heat up substances in the pressure canner, because you've only got this much water. It is a big pot, but you've only got this much water. And what you need to bear in mind is that because it takes much less, you have to also think that, for example, this, you can't pressure can anything thick because it can't move around in the can, right? You want everything to be super liquidy, like this one. You can't really tell because these are black beans, but you can just, oh, I think this one's not going to be too great either. That's just solid. But yeah, so you can see that it's moving around. It's got a liquid in it, okay? So it needs to be like, I know it sounds really appetizing, but it needs to be lumped in liquid, not like how you do with water bath canning, sorry, where you can have everything in a puree form. You can't puree things because the heat can't penetrate it and it doesn't move around enough. Yeah, cold water bath canning is great, but what I like about it the most is it's so much faster. But you don't want to take anything that's water, say for example, pickles. You don't want to pressure can because you think it's safer, pickles, because they just turn to mush. The issue that you have with pressure canning is a textural issue. Everything goes a little bit mushy. If I cook in huge batches of beef, and then can it. Awesome. This weekend I'm doing the same with chicken stock. Yes, I'm going to be canning my chicken stock this in a couple of weeks as well. I've got loads of bones in the freezer that I really need to come out and do something with, but I'm not going to do it until the weather cools down a little bit and the rain properly comes, because I need to be in the garden. Can you get botulism? Yeah. So botulism is something that people talk about, and there has been a few cases of botulism in the UK, but I want you to be completely rest assured that, to be honest, the botulism, most of the botulism cases lately have been from shop bought food. Okay. And anything that's low acid is going to be possibly having botulism in it. So you just need to make sure that you are following sensible guidelines. So for example, if you're pressure canning and it says 25 minutes, say, you've got to do 25 minutes. Okay, 25 minutes, then you turn the heat off, then you wait for it to cool down, then you take the weight off of it, then you wait your 10 minutes, then you open it. All of that time is budgeted into that 25 minutes, okay? So don't worry, you're going to be overcooking it. Just don't rush ahead. Also, remember, this is incredibly hot things. We don't want to burn ourselves. But like I said, I've never had an issue with anything that has had botulism. Obviously, botulism, for those of us that don't know, it is something you can't smell, taste, or see, or at all. But what you can do is do our tests. If the lid is stuck on and it's sealed, yeah, it won't have anything in it, because anything that's alive has to produce gases, and the gases will pop the pressure inside. Okay, so if it's completely sealed, yeah, you open it, you smell it, it doesn't have any mold on it, then it will be okay. All right. So it is something that once you've started eating it for a little while, when you first start out, it is really super intimidating and worrying. But once you've eaten it for a few times, you know, like, it isn't. And we've all eaten baked beans, yeah? We've always, baked beans, food of champions, spaghetti hoops, and etc. We've all eaten those, right? Them really are low acid foods, right? So they've been pressure canned in cans. So if you get your mind around that, if you can buy it from the shop, you can get it from home, and you just need to make sure that you're being smart. I've only ever had 2 jars fail in my 8 years of canning. One was actually tomatoes. It was one of these, and honestly, it was like you could smell it as soon as you walked in. So one of these, and I had a jam this year. Okay, I don't think I've ever had a pressure can jar fail, but I can. See if I can show you. My signal's not amazing in here, so just bear with me. I can a lot, right? So that's just like one shelf. I can a lot. And if I've only got 2 jars that fail, that's like because I can so much. You probably won't. And if you do, you'll be able to tell straight away. You'll be able to tell straight away, because the seal will be gone, right? And most of the time, it's like, if you think about it, if you took something from your fridge, right, like ham, let's just say you took some ham, put it on the side, you'd be able to tell that it's going to be slimy, it's going to smell, it's going to be gross. You'll know not to eat it, okay? It's the same for canning. The only difference is it's in a sterile jar, and we're not quite used to it because we've lost this skill set in the generations that we've had, okay? But it isn't that scary. If you really are worried, the best thing you can do is practice by canning water. Water is the easiest thing to can, obviously, because you can't get it wrong. Yeah, so you can sterilize that, and then you practice opening it if it makes you feel a bit better. Siphoning. So yes, you can get siphoning. What were you canning, just so that I have an understanding? So you could get 2 types of siphoning. One siphoning that it siphons off into the water as you're canning, and you get like a pinkish tinge or whatever it is in the water. There's one type. The second type of siphoning that you can get is when you take it out of the can and you put it like out into the environment, and it siphons out. I've had that happen with jam. So the second type of siphoning is pasta sauce. Okay. Was it in the canner or out the canner? So that happens if you overfill your jars, it comes out into the water. Okay. So you get like a pink tinge or whatever. Sometimes they seal, sometimes they don't seal. It depends. And I've also had it with my jam, which is down here. So my jam has come up and dribbled down the side when I didn't wait the 10 minutes. I had a whole batch of like ridiculous amount of things to do. I wanted to go to bed, so I just pulled them out after their time, put them straight onto the time as soon as the buzzer went off, and they went everywhere. You have to wait your 10 minutes. Yep, in the canner, it could be two things. Like I said, it could be overfilling or you didn't bubble it well enough, right? Accidents do happen. So I suggest making sure you double check that. Double check your headspace. You can get a tool that checks your headspace. It comes in a canning kit. So you can get like a whole kit, like with the funnel, with the jar lifter, etc., and it has that on it. And you want to just double check that you're not overfilling them and making sure that you properly debubble them, which I'm not saying that you aren't properly debubbling them, but I've done it. Okay, I've been there, and it's just making sure that you give it a good stir if it's like a sauce like this, or you just move them around and kind of bumble them around to make sure the bubbles get out. One time I did not wait, naturally depressed. Yeah, we all do it. Like, we all do it. We all kind of like are in a rush because we're people in the world, right? And I've done it. I've broken jars. I've also like been in a rush and I couldn't be bothered to boil my sauce or heat my jars, and I've put hot sauce into cold jars and had them shatter on the side, and I've put cold jars into boiling hot water and had the bottom fall out of them as well. The only thing I would say, talk about mistakes, I would just be super careful. Just be super careful that you are getting them out when you're getting them out hot, because we don't want to have any accidents, do we? Oh, sorry about that. I almost dropped my phone onto the floor. My husband was a debubbler. That's okay, right? I've lost mine. Mine comes up every few months. I'm like, oh, here it is. And I use it for a few videos and then it disappears. Mine's currently AWOL at the moment. I use a knife. Use a chopstick, use whatever you want. If you're going to use a metal knife, though, it does say don't use a metal knife, and that's because they don't want you to break the jar. I don't know about you, but I'm not that strong. Just do it really gently. It'll work fine, okay? Chopstick works really well too. I'm going to try chili jam. Yeah, I've got that on my to-do list. It's my least favourite. No, I was just talking about this today. It's my second least favourite thing to can, because if you guys ever heated up chili at home, it's like filling your house with pepper spray. It's not pleasant. So I'm going to be doing it outdoors. And the second thing I need to can, which is my least favourite thing to can, is horseradish. Have you guys ever tried horseradish? Like, I've done like the chili jam, you know that? That's nothing compared to horseradish. Horseradish is far worse. But everyone's done that, haven't they? With the eyeball and the chili jam. Beef stew, yeah, nice in red wine. It would be lovely. Chopstick, yes. Chopsticks for the win, yes. Anything. You can debubble with anything. You don't need a debubbler. Debubbler. It's really hard to say. I really want to can jam so it can't last longer. I have lots of jam. We only eat strawberry. Mine's separated this year. Do you know why? It's like this. Normally, I painstakingly remove all of the fruit and the seeds because my family don't like fruit and seeds. And this year, I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I didn't. And look, it's separated. So next year, I'm definitely going to be separating the fruit and the seeds out because it just looks weird. As I mentioned, I want to can beef stew. Yes, do it. And I would raw pack. Yeah, beef chunks really do can well because they kind of make their own broth, if that makes sense. And they do can really well. I feel like when it's too small, it doesn't can too well. I want to fully cook the ingredients on the hob. But I want to fully cook the ingredients on the hob. The difference between those two that I've found personally in my canning journey is that if you at least like sear them on the hob, they don't have that grey colour. So they do look more appetising when you dish it up. It doesn't have to be cooked all the way through. You can just sear it and then put it in if that's what you like. But all of those juices do get trapped in the jar and it makes it really delicious. Even the chicken that I did, honestly, it tasted really good. It just had a weird texture. And then fill the jar with stew and can. Meat in the can, yeah. So you just, just bear in mind that if you can meat, it produces its own juices, okay? So there's a lot of times where you don't need to use like any stock or less stock because it produces a surprising amount of liquid, okay? You know, when you're cooking, that like lots of liquid comes off anyway. So if you're going to raw pack, then you can add liquid. If you if you're cooking it and packing it, then you can add liquid. But if you are raw packing, just remember in the back of your mind that you are going to get a lot of liquids. If you overfill your jar, you'll get siphoning, which is where the liquid comes up and over into your canner whilst it's cooking, all right, which can lead to there to be a weird taste. And if it's open in the canner, I think my canner is got a weird taste to it. Like, I wouldn't cook in my canner because it smells weird. But also it will might prevent your cans from sealing. You can reprocess them if it's within that 24-hour period, but I do find that, you know, because of the incredible heat and pressure, you don't want to run the canner with it too much. One thing I will say is that, say we talked about the pressure gauge, if it goes on to 11 and then it drops down to 7, you have to restart the time, just like you would if your canner stopped being on a rolling boil. Canned leftovers, it depends what's in there. So for example, if you made a big stew, you can absolutely can the leftovers of that, absolutely. In fact, what I would do is I'd cook a whole stew, I'd have it for dinner, and then I'd make extra to can, if that makes sense, and then run the canner whilst I'm having dinner, because you don't want to leave the canner. Canners, particularly if you're not used to doing it, the pressure gets really, really high really, really quickly, okay? There's been cases where I've left it and I've, like, you know, not forgotten about it, but I've gone to do something, or the kids are crying or arguing or whatever. I've gone over there and I'll come back and it has gone above what I wanted it to. I've never had it fail. If you do, where is it? If you do, God forbid that you do this, but if you do, say life gets in the way, right? This will pop. This bit here comes out and it hits the ceiling and all the pressure will come out and it will sound like a right racket, but that is the safety mechanism. We don't have exploding canners, touch wood, anymore. Probably putting everybody off. Hello, Megan. It should be okay. It will be okay. Oh no, the sound's off. Oh, it's back now. Hello. Sorry about that. I was just saying that if you leave your canner and it gets up past into the caution part here, right? I've had it where it's got to 15 there, which is obviously way too high for me. But if it gets to caution and above, this part here is a safety mechanism and it will pop and all the steam will come out there. We do not have exploding canners anymore. And I know that lots and lots and lots of people are worried about exploding canners. Apparently back in the day it was a big thing. It doesn't happen anymore. Thank goodness. I have learned what heat allows pressure canning to remain constant. Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's the thing. For me, on my hob, I have a ceramic hob, which they do say not to can on, but I'm a rebel. And the reason I think they say that is because mine keeps turning off, which makes me... but mine, I have to put it up onto 9 until it starts to boil, and then I put it onto 5 and then 4. And then at 4, it honestly stays beautifully steady, and there's no issue with it at all. So it is learning your hob as well, of course. Is there any more questions about pressure canning? Don't be shy. I don't bite, I promise. So let me know if you do. One other thing whilst I think of it is that I don't obviously store any of my jars with the lids on, and that's so that if they do fail, when you pick them up, the lids will just come off. We were moving this whole area around. My whole canning and storeroom, it looks completely different now. I'll be doing a video on it later on, do a whole tour of it. And one of the lids just slid off onto the floor, and it was good because that means that, you know, we found it before it started to really stink, which is always really nice. Water bath my first tomatoes. Huzzah! Well done. The other day, thank you for the recipe. Oh, I hope you like it. That's amazing. Congratulations. It's a big triumph when you have that first lot of jars looking all beautiful on the shelf. Do you double layer when canning? Yes, in a pressure canner you can 100% double layer them. So what you would do is you actually have to buy your own rack. I don't do that. I just literally, right, I'm a rebel, so don't copy me, but this is what I do. So this is my bottom layer. I just put them like that. I don't do that though, because I think that won't, probably no science to it at all, but I do it like this. If I drop this, I'm going to cry. So like this, that's how I do it. But you should actually have a second canning rack. Be better than me, guys. Be better than me. So that's how I do it. And you can absolutely, with this canner, you see how deep it is compared to a jar. So you can get 2 lots in there. And you can go all the way up to there. That's fine. There is a maximum line, I see, which is up to there. Whoop, up to... this is very heavy. I'm going to put the jar down. Up to here. There's like a little nubby bits along there. Up to there is the maximum. So you can't go above that, but you can get a fair few jars in there. How many layers do you do? So 2 layers in total. If you do like little jars like this, you can get a lot more in, probably 3 layers, but they're very small. So I wouldn't pressure can these. You can. Another thing I do see is, can you pressure can in jam jars? I've done it. I've pressure canned. That's my dog. Bailey! There's a Pomeranian that lives next door. They're at war with each other. But like, if the Pomeranian got into my garden, my dog would be beside himself. He's a coward. Anyway, so yeah, you can pressure can in these, and they work really well as well. I've got a question. I see you only use 2 part lids. So I have used screw top lids before. The issue I have with screw top lids, I was actually talking about this today, is that I used to have, I'll show you, it's dusty because it's a garage, right? I used to use these with those lids. What I find with these is they're fine, but the lids are quite expensive. The jar aren't that strong. And I found that this is one of the only ones I have left, okay? And I got to the point where I was just breaking too many and having to replace the lids. I find that the lids of these, they don't store well. They etch, which means they get like these little scratches on them and they rust. And I find that I just didn't like them as much. I can't explain why. But when I first started out, I did, and I do, and I still have some, did everything in secondhand jars. Okay, as you can see behind me, I've transferred them to using herbs. Right, these are all my secondhand jars. I don't use my canning jars to store herbs because why would I? They're expensive. But I have found a new jar supplier, and I'm not going to share the links with you guys yet because I want to make sure that they are the best of the best of the best. But so far, they are half the price and they seem to be just as good. So I'm just going to do another batch of them and then I'll share it with you if you're interested. But yeah, do I think that you can use 1 part lid? Absolutely. Of course you can. And pressure canning, I found it to be better than water bath canning because the 1 part lid on water bath canning, I found that it sealed beautifully. And I don't know why I find this so gross because obviously it's sterile, but some of the water would get into the product and become all soupy in there. So it'd be like the canning water in it, and it all just like, for me personally. Yeah, brilliant. So you've also done it. Yeah, it works perfectly, but I don't know, I just upgraded. I guess I just bought into it. Oh, you know, and they do look really pretty. So there is that to it. But I also can something like, I don't even know how much I can. I've bought 120 jars this year. I think last year I bought like almost 100. I can a lot. So if it means that it's like a little bit. Oh, eek, I want the link. Okay. Well, I will share it on my post, all right? But I've only canned with them once. And to be honest, they were beautiful. But in fact, I have them. Where are they? These are them. These are the new jars. They're called Packish. It's P-A-K-SH, and look, he's got a little lion on it. Isn't it cute? So they're those ones. That's what they look like. I think they look nice, but don't they look like jam jars? But they are really thick. I just need the storage. Yeah, I've actually using my garage for my storage, because if I put a single more jar in my house, I'll probably get a divorce, because that's probably our biggest heated moment is vegetables on the side, and jam, and jars just in general, and when I bring animals home without telling anyone. These are the things that really wind him up. Like normal marriages, right? Who hasn't brought a couple of ducks home, you know? Right, well, it is now bedtime, so I've got to go and sort my kiddie winks out, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks for coming.